Hello, everyone. Hopefully you can see this. I'm going to give our Oh, I think I got dropped. Hi.
There we go.
Ronit, can you hear me and see me okay?
I can hear you great. I just
Wonderful. That's a good sign. Let's make sure that we're live here in the group, okay? It looks like we are. Wonderful. Hi, everyone. Welcome to this super special event. As you know, we do marketing trainings just about every week inside of this group, and I'm thrilled to be welcoming a special guest this week. SEO is something that I know you as a therapist are told you need. And that's kind of it. A lot of you I know feel like there is this big nebulous thing that is required in your practice, but you don't actually know how to go about it. And it feels extremely overwhelming because it feels like there's a lot of technical parts to it. You feel like you have to be like a genius as far as computers and the internet goes in order to just rank on Google, when in fact, that's not the case. And that's exactly what today is all about. So Ronit is here. She's going to introduce herself and tell you all about her awesome expertise. But I just want you to know that she is kind of not a jack of all trades, but a master of all trades in the sense that she's an accomplished group practice owner in north of Philadelphia, right? Bucks County.
Yeah.
One of the top psychologists in Pennsylvania the last 2 years, and an SEO expert. So we are very, very lucky that she is giving us some of her time today. Tell us a little bit about you, Ronit. Introduce yourself and tell us what you're all about.
Sure. Thank you. First of all, thank you so much for having me here because I'm a part of the group and I watch your videos. And so to be on one, I feel like I'm a little starstruck right now. So thank you and hello to everybody. To build off of what you said, my current practice started in 2013 and I started with 3 hours a week after work and then gradually built on that and decided then to go full-time into private practice. And as I was building this practice, I was using all of the standard marketing stuff that we're all taught to do. Have a really nice brochure and cards, drop it off at all the doctor's offices. Cater breakfasts, cater lunches, the kind where you're talking, someone comes in, grabs a sandwich and leaves, join all the groups, do all of the things. And I was doing all of those and it wasn't working. And so while all of this was happening, I was also learning a lot about the world of blogging and what bloggers were doing to be successful. And there was this thing called SEO that everyone was talking about. And I figured, well, if they can use that to make themselves successful, why can't I use that for my website?
Yeah,
I might as well try it. Nothing else is working. So I dove in head first. And in the process of that, discovered that I actually really liked it. So SEO is actually something I do for fun, which as a therapist makes me really, really weird.
Yeah.
And when I talk to other SEO experts and ask them questions and stuff, I completely throw them off because they're like, you know a lot about this for a therapist.
Yeah, sure.
And I'm like, yeah, I do, I guess. And
yeah,
so
it's a hobby.
Yeah, it's actually a hobby. I do this for fun. And what that allowed me to do is use it as one of my key marketing strategies to fill my individual practice, then start and grow and fill a group practice. And in the course of that, I started helping other therapists and coaches with their SEO. And I'm just really motivated to connect people with the right therapist because I see the disconnect all of the time. And especially now when it's so needed, it's so important to be able to have people find your website quickly and easily online. And I want to help therapists with that.
Yeah, I think you mentioned something really important there, and that's important about all of marketing. And we talk about that a lot in this group, but SEO is not different from that in that it's about making sure that the right people find you, that you are in front of the people you can help the most and that need your help the most. SEO is an extension of that. So it doesn't have to be viewed as this must do, have to have thing, but instead just yet another tool for you to reach the people that you are most effective at helping.
100%. And what we'll talk about today is really about how in your everyday marketing activities for your practice anyway, you're already doing things that are helping boost your SEO. And if you think about your SEO in that way, you'll actually realize that you can connect the dots really easily so that all of your marketing is just feeding off of itself and into itself. And it makes it really efficient.
Absolutely. And it does, it's an engine that picks up speed. SEO is one of the only free marketing methods out there. It can be incredibly effective and only gets more effective over time. So if you're just making these small investments we're going to talk about today, you're just going to get that locomotive starting to churn and eventually it'll run on its own like it has for you.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's the great part is that it eventually becomes your best salesperson.
That's awesome. Yeah. And if your website is doing its job, then you just have clients coming in. That's wonderful. And that's totally the dream. So before we dive into the 4 non-tech ways to boost SEO starting today, why don't you just give us a quick overview of SEO? I don't want to assume that anyone watching this or anyone in the group totally understands it. I think there's a lot of misconceptions. So give us kind of a basic breakdown of it.
Sure. So SEO at its core is, and actually just to back up, it's also referred to as search engine optimization. So SEO at its core is a bunch of steps and processes that you take in order to make sure or to help the search engines find your page, because they rank pages, and show it to someone who's typing an inquiry into a search bar. It's a way to drive organic traffic to a site, so it's not through ads. And your goal as someone who's optimizing a web page or a website is to get your website on the first 3 pages of a search engine result, because most people aren't going to search past page 1, let alone page 3. So about 60% will drop off after page 1. And then after that, it's 30% per page. And so your goal is to get as high as you can within pages 1 to 3.
Sure. You've talked to me before about SEO being sort of like a chemistry equation or like a science equation. Talk me through that analogy. That might be helpful for understanding this.
Absolutely. I came up with this analogy when I was helping my daughter with her homework. She's in middle school. And so I'm steeped in this world right now. SEO is like a chemistry equation or a math equation where you're trying to balance both sides. So we tend to think about SEO as, how can I super pack and superjet my website? That's just one side of the equation. An optimized website that is fast and works well is really, really important. And that used to be all you needed. But now you need that optimized website. And then on the other side of the equation, you need to make sure that the internet has lots of ways to send signals back to your website. Because Google is actually looking at both of those things. It's looking at how great is your website, and we'll talk about some different non-tech ways for that to happen. And how many other places on the internet are sending you people and signals, because that's like a reference, the way an employer would ask for a reference about us. That's how Google checks your website's references. So the more signals, the better.
So it's not just about your website, but also about how your website is being thought of and talked about and used around the internet, and ultimately what is being sent back to you. I talk about those as like votes of confidence. Google sees being signaled around the rest of the internet. That's a vote of confidence. Like, well, if this website trusts this therapist, then maybe I should too. That's kind of how Google views that. So that makes sense.
And actually, the way I explained it to my daughter is, you're trying to create the best conversation possible between your website and the internet.
Love that. That's a great way to think about it, that it's a conversation. It's ongoing, right? But you can automate it. It's not something you just have to be pouring a bunch of time.
Exactly. No, you don't.
Awesome. So like we talked about, there's really good news for therapists in that they don't have to be a tech expert in order to take advantage of SEO and ultimately, create that automated engine that we're talking about. So what is the first non-tech way that they can boost SEO?
So the first one, and the very easy one, is to build trust. And the first way to do that is actually through having a secure site. And if you look on the upper left-hand corner of your site, you will either see a closed if your site is secure, you will see a closed padlock, or it will say secure. If the site is not protected, you'll see an open padlock. It will usually be highlighted in red, or you'll see the words not secure. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Love live things. It always happens when it's live.
No problem.
And you want to make sure that your site is secure. And there are a couple reasons for that. The first is, without that, Google will penalize your site. The second reason is that without that, people will leave your site fairly quickly. We all know too much at this point, unfortunately, about hackers. And so by having a secure site, what you're actually doing is you're sending a message to your visitors and to the search engines, especially to Google, that you have taken every step you possibly can to protect your site from hackers. Because what you're trying to do is protect the signal that goes from the visitor's computer to your site, from your site back to the visitor's computer. And so a security certificate or an SSL certificate is the way you do that.
Right. So it's about building trust with your users so that they trust your website. And then Google has in the past couple of years really changed the way that it ranks things. Like you said, it used to be enough to just have a good website with a lot of keywords. That's not the case anymore. They're a lot more sophisticated, and security is a huge
issue.
for Google, just like it is for us as users. I know are a lot of different ways to secure your site, especially for someone that's super not tech friendly. What do you recommend they do in order to get that in place on their website if it's not there already?
Sure. So it's actually a really easy step to take. Usually the company where you bought your domain name will sell these, it's called an SSL or a security certificate. They will usually be the ones selling them. You can also buy them through your hosting platform if you have your own WordPress site, and you're hosting independently. Or if you're using a company like Squarespace, Wix, Weebly, I know that a lot of people in the group are using those. They will often have that as part of your package. If they don't, just double check. And then if you are working with a company like Brighter Vision or therapy sites or anyone else who's designing your site, see if your setup fee or your monthly fee includes your security certificate or SSL certificate.
And if not, just a quick Google search should hopefully
absolutely
tell you.
So Google search will tell you there are plugins that you can use for WordPress that will help secure your site. And then any company that you're using either to host your site or that, like Squarespace or any of these to build your site will be able to, customer service will be able to help you with that.
Definitely. Yeah. So if you bought your,
it's not expensive.
They're not expensive. That is one thing. So if you bought your domain name, if you are using GoDaddy or names.net or whatever, you should be able to go there and get an SSL or talk to the person that's hosting your website or the service that's hosting your website, be that Squarespace, be that Bluehost, whatever that is.
Yes.
Awesome.
And like I said, it's often included in you may not even know that when you paid for your domain name, it was included in the package.
Right. So this might be an easy checkbox for a lot of us if we are using a service like that. Awesome. What is the second non-tech way to boost SEO?
Yeah, the second one actually also has to do with trust and authority. And this is creating really, really good content on your website. So blogs are a really great way to do this. And the reason, especially in our field, because Google looks at our sites as specialty sites. So Google categorizes sites, and if you were an e-commerce site, you'd be held to different standards. But as an authority site, Google wants to see that you have a lot of really good information on your site. And so it's looking for pages to have at least 300 words. And when it comes to blog posts, they're actually looking for 1,000 words or more. That's considered authoritative. The content should be really thorough, answer people's questions, and be relevant. And by relevant, that means not what you think is relevant, but what people are searching for.
Okay. So why is the frequency of blogging important? That's something people talk a lot about. You've talked about length. How often does someone need to be posting on blogs in order to be seen as authoritative by Google?
So once upon a time, it used to be the game was as often as possible. And so people would post several times a week, but they wouldn't post anything good. So Google will actually penalize you for that now because it values quality over quantity. And so if you can't write more than once a month, I would say once a month is your minimum, but it's fine. Anything more than that, and Google will start to categorize your website as inactive. The Google bots want new information to crawl. And so at least once a month, if you can, twice a month is great, but really making sure that you're hitting on that quality content.
Definitely. So you mentioned quality content. What's the best way to know if I, as a therapist, am writing a blog post that's actually SEO friendly as opposed to just, treating it like a journal? Like, what's the best way to approach that to make sure that that's as effective as possible?
Sure. That's a really great question. I get asked that one a lot. First, it's use keywords, and keywords or key phrases are basically those things that people are typing into the search engine bars. And the search engines use that to find the right information. And so they're scanning your page to see if you have any of those words. So making sure that you're using the right keywords, and Ubersuggest is a free and really good tool for that. And then the other one is to make sure that you're posting things that are relevant. So topics that people are searching for right now. And at the end, I'll talk about a video I created that walks people through 3 free ways to find places that are going to give you a never-ending source of these kinds of topics.
Perfect. I know people are always looking for that. When I sit down to these training videos, a lot of times it's like, what do I talk about this week? And some of those tools you talk about are places I go in order to create this type of content, the same way that therapists can find really relevant topics for them too. So that's awesome. I'll ask you one more question about blogging.
Sure.
When it comes to SEO, does someone have to blog? Does a therapist have to blog? If that just is if they hate writing or something like that, would your advice still be make it happen somehow? Or do you think that it's a really nice to have, but not a must have? I'm putting you on the spot. on that one?
No, actually, that's a really good question, because that's a really big question in SEO right now, because blogging takes time.
Yeah.
Quality blogging takes a lot of time.
Right.
So even the big SEO guys will tell you that they have about 30 posts that they just keep refreshing. They'll add new research. There's constantly new stuff coming out, and they'll republish those because it could take them 1 to 2 weeks. And these guys have teams.
Right.
We don't.
Right.
So I think that at this point, blogging is great because it helps your website rank for more keywords. And when people check you out, people automatically feel like you're a real authority because you're giving them more stuff to look at and read. But it's not a must-have. So if you have a podcast, or you are frequently on a podcast, if you have a Facebook group, if you have an IGTV show, anything that gives people the opportunity to interact with you and get them ultimately back to your website.
Gotcha.
So your goal is to figure out, how do I get people back on my website and then to stay on my website?
Yep. Awesome. That's good to know. Because I know that, I talk to people that are really confident blogging and like to write, and others that are like, that is the hardest thing I could ever think of.
Absolutely.
So it's nice to know that it's not, it is nice to have, but not an absolute must have to be successful. So
not at all. There are therapists who do a fantastic job on Instagram or on Facebook, and they don't need to blog. So they have figured out a way to make sure that their people find them.
Right. And that's
what SEO is about.
That so speaks to something that's really important to me in this group, is that you don't have to do anything other than having a really solid website, a clear niche, and good messages. You don't have to do anything. And so you can find ways that work for you, that align with your skills, and that ultimately will get you clients that don't have to be, by the book exactly what everyone's telling you on, a certain blog post or a certain something like that.
100%. And whenever you read something, look at the date it was published, because the recommendations regarding SEO, regarding digital marketing, regarding best standards for websites are changing constantly at this point.
Yes, truly.
So something that you read a year ago may not even be relevant anymore in terms of the best practice.
Right. Absolutely. That's a great thing to remember. Thanks, Ronit. Number 3, what's the third non-tech way to boost to SEO?
Sure. So the other one, and that it actually ties into what we were talking about, is building expertise by being everywhere. And I know that we just said you don't have to be everywhere, but what being everywhere means is Google wants to see that people have a lot of different ways of interacting with you and your brand. Because if you're an expert, the expectation is that you're going to be in lots of places. You'll be on different podcasts, on different blogs. You'll have written articles. You'll have contributed to whatever. You'll be part of different organizations. You'll teach classes. So Google wants to see that you're in lots of different places, because as we've been saying, those are all ways that Google can check your references.
Right.
And ultimately, any search engine wants to do the best job possible, showing people the best answer to their question. So they need to make sure that they're vetting you. And that's how they do it.
So this is the act of backlink building, right? Of building those links back to your website, those signals. I know that that's really overwhelming. I work with clients to build their website, and then I equip them with, kind of a starting place for building backlinks, but it's overwhelming, to know that the therapists that are usually ranking the highest have upwards of 50 backlinks sometimes. Where would you suggest a private practitioner who's just learning about this for the first time, or just launching their website for the first time, where should they start as far as creating those signals and creating those backlinks?
Absolutely. So here's a really easy way to do it. Get listed on Psychology Today and get listed on one more directory.
Okay.
Because directories tend to be regarded very highly by Google and other search engines because A, they have to go through a significant vetting process, but B, they have so many people linked to them that it sends a really good signal to Google that directory must be legit. So another directory can be a local directory. Like there's cities that have therapy directories. You can be part of an association like the American Anxiety Association, the ADA. And then, for example, my first 2 directory listings were Psychology Today and the International OCD Foundation. Because Google wants to see that your backlinks are relevant to what you do.
Right.
So if you are, why would a toy store, if you're not a child therapist, why would a toy store link to you? That's not going to really count as much. But if you have, for example, Psychology Today and Therapy Den, or Psychology Today, and you're on the board of a specialty, any kind of practice. So I know colleagues who are in Philadelphia, and they are on the Philadelphia board of National Eating Disorders Associations. and those organizations link back to their site. So even something like that, that's not necessarily a directory. Just 2 professional things.
Okay. That's a wonderful place to start. That feels like so much easier to kind of bite off as opposed to this big, massive undertaking. And backlink building is something that happens over time. It should happen naturally. It's not something you have to go out and force. There are companies that will spin you up on some crazy, weird websites around the internet. That's not going to help you. Like you said.
And actually, don't do that.
Please don't do that. Do it in a genuine way. Think about where you are seen as authoritative, what makes you an authority in your space, and how that can ultimately be signaled to Google around the web.
Oh, and even for your potential clients, think about it when they see, oh, this person is, specializes in exactly what I need them to.
Exactly.
How directories will actually give you these things to post on your site.
Right.
And so it's really helpful without even saying anything. You've just told this potential client, I can help you.
Yep, I'm an authority in this. I am getting some notes about this being hard to view. So if you're viewing this, okay, it looks like we have quite a few people in here, but would you like this, or drop a yes in the comments just to make sure you can hear us and see us, okay? I can see us up on a different window, but I want to make sure everyone else can too. So hopefully that's okay. While I'm waiting for a couple of signals there, Ronit, that just so ties back to, everything that we talk about in this group. All of marketing is connected. It's about knowing who you are, knowing who you specialize in, knowing who you want to reach, and what's going to resonate with them. And that can show you what to write on your website, where to get backlinks, what to say on social media, all those kinds of things.
Yeah. And so and notice how we haven't talked about coding. We haven't talked about changing your website drastically in any way. In terms of the tech stuff, we haven't talked about tech at all.
Right. This is just you doing your job. This is just you being an expert in your space.
Exactly.
All right, we're getting some thumbs and some yeses. So awesome. People can hear us. Okay, so that's great. I would have been sad if we were chatting through all this and to an empty room. So that's great. Thank you, everyone. The last one, this one I'm excited to talk about. What's the 4th non-tech way to boost SEO?
Sure, the 4th one, and I'm assuming that everyone who's in this group is already doing this in some way, is building a presence on social media.
Okay.
And when therapists hear build a presence on social media, first of all, our ethics red flags go all the way up.
Right.
And then we get really overwhelmed because there's so much we can do and shouldn't do, and everything else gets really confusing. So think of social media as just giving people yet another way to learn about you, your practice, what you know, and what it would be like to get to know you.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you want to build a really huge, big following and all of that, great. If you can do that, that's awesome. My 13-year-old is my social media manager. So I'm not even allowed to post things without clearing it. Awesome. So just to give you an idea of where I am in my social media. Right. So what I use social media for my practice is it's another place where people can check to see what I'm about. These days, people are going to look in multiple places to verify what you're about. They're not just going to stop at your website. So it's another place. It's another place for me to share blog posts. So again, sending more signals back to my website.
Right.
It's another place for me to share information about my practice and any events or anything that we might have. And it's actually been a fantastic way for me to interact with other therapists in my area, because there's a Facebook group specifically for therapists in my area. And I really strongly recommend that everyone look to see if there are Facebook groups for therapists either in your area or in your city, because those can be great sources for, sharing information about events that you're hosting, something that you've published, if you're hosting a CE presentation, and to share referrals back and forth.
Absolutely. There's so many benefits to that. Yeah. Man, this is just so tying in. Friends, if you are also, I just want to say, if you are watching this and have questions for Ronit, we're going to have a question time after this. So if you're watching this and you're like, don't know about this one thing, feel free to drop that in there. But Ronit, you're reinforcing everything we talk about in this group and everything about marketing, that it's about creating a system that feeds itself. And so I talk about the private practice marketing pyramid, which starts with your website that's SEO friendly, right? And then psychology today, referrals, networking that you're talking about, social media, all of these start to feed each other. It's like gears that turn one another, and all of a sudden it runs on its own. Like you're investing time in creating content you're proud of networking with people you believe in, and the clients, they show up. Like that's what happened for you. Yeah.
And it's not as gratifying as posting something and having X number of people like it.
Right.
It's not like checking a box.
Right.
This is all happening behind the scenes, and you have to sort of trust that you're doing the right thing and it's happening.
Yeah.
But then once it does, you really get to reap the benefits out of it.
Right.
And so even if you invest in it, and I've invested in courses, I've invested in consults, because I've just continuously wanted to up my game, but also improve my SEO. You wind up seeing the payback. The investment winds up paying for itself. So if you take your marketing budget and, let's say for 1 or 2 years, devote a lot of it toward SEO, you're going to see that. If you think about how much one client even would pay you over the course of a year, if you were to just get one client, it would pay for your SEO investment.
Yes, that's so true. It's really wise to think about I find this for therapists, it's really wise to think about your marketing investments in terms of what it can be as far as clients go, because it's a very kind of concrete way to think about an investment. So if you choose to purchase a course, or you choose to invest this much in coaching or whatever that is, if that results in X amount of clients that, your goal is, what type of profit are you getting? And if you're not getting a very handsome profit, it's probably not a good investment for you. Whereas SEO tends to pay off in dividends.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And think of it this way. Imagine that your website is working for you when you're hanging out with your family, when you are watching a TV show, when you're off on a vacation, your website's still working once you get your SEO going.
Absolutely.
So even that, if you think about how much you charge for an hour, and how many hours it frees up.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness. And that's a really important thing for therapists who are so prone to burnout and things like that. Is put value on your time, not just your money, but your time, especially your time outside of seeing clients, your time outside of taking notes. What if you could simplify that? How much money is that worth?
Especially now.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Especially now when we are all so stretched thin, whether we're trying to just build a practice and we're getting off the ground now. What a brave step to build a practice right now. Or you're in practice and we're all just trying to keep up with everything that's going on. To have something working for us. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I haven't seen any questions come in. I do have one that I often work with and kind of talk clients through. But when it comes to SEO, we've talked a lot about investment. There's time involved in this, right? This isn't something that happens overnight. So what do you usually encourage therapists to look at as far as, you're going to start? So maybe they're going to start boosting their SEO starting today using these 4 tips. How long until they might start to see some traction? Where should expectations be to make sure we're not being disappointed? And also to know, hey, if I'm not seeing changes, maybe I need to be, making some adjustments.
So there are basically 2 ways to do SEO, and they're the 2 ways that we can do everything. Basically, we can either do it ourselves or we can hire somebody to do it completely for us.
Right.
So if you are going to do it yourself, you have to look at the investment of time that you're going to spend. And you don't have to invest a huge amount of time. It's actually more about being consistent.
Okay.
Because if you are a new website, Google puts you in something called the sandbox. It's trying to vet you. And it's going to take at least 6 months for you to even show up anywhere, even remote. I mean, like, you'll be in the Siberia of search results.
Yeah.
You're lucky if you're even going to be able to find yourself.
Yeah.
And that's done on purpose. So at least 6 months if you're a new site, if not a year.
Yep.
And if you are an existing site with a good reputation, and you would know if you were not, expect at least 3 months.
Okay.
And so if you look around and there are SEO people who say, I will do this for you, you'll rank in 30 days, you'll rank in 60 days. I would be really, really careful about that because that's not how the search algorithms work. It's just not.
Yep.
So just know that this is a long game.
Absolutely. It is a long game, and 6 months to a year is exactly what I recommend, kind of coach my clients on as well. You point to something that's really important that I also think is critical to talking in this space, that because this world of therapy is a little bit newer to the SEO game, sometimes people can convince you that you need something you don't need, or that they can provide results that they can't provide. So would you agree? I mean, I often tell therapists, if someone's telling you that they are going to charge you multiple hundreds of dollars per month to work on your SEO, you've just talked about how this is a smaller time investment just over time. Do they need to be paying someone that much? When should red flags go up if they're going to work with an expert?
So if someone says, I will set up your SEO and then I will charge you to maintain it, that makes sense.
Okay.
Because the setup fee is always going to be a lot.
Right.
And an SEO specialist is going to charge a lot. SEO specialists actually start at $350 to about $600 an hour.
Okay.
And I don't do that because I work with therapists, but just generally so that people have a price range. That's how much they generally charge. The setup fee for SEO tends to be between $1,000 to $3,000, depending on what they're doing for you. And then if you want them to maintain it so that you don't have to do it, that's where you start to negotiate how much it's going to cost per month.
Yeah.
But if someone is telling you that right off the bat, it's going to cost hundreds of dollars for them to maintain your SEO, I would just step back and ask why. Because really what you're doing is you're monitoring a few key things on each page. You're monitoring certain blog posts. And more than anything, you're monitoring traffic. You're monitoring how many people turn into customers.
Right.
So why is that going to cost several? And I've seen places who are working with therapists who charge upwards of $600 or $700 a month for SEO. And I'd want to know why. So just make sure that you know why. And if you are going to hire someone to fully take care of it for you, great. Just make sure that you know what questions to ask.
Absolutely. That's wonderful. We've got a couple questions that have come in. So the first one, how can we SEO proofread our pages in terms of content quality? So other than just using the number of words as a guidance, how else do you write well for SEO?
Answer a question thoroughly. So when you're writing a blog post, make sure that you divide it into subheadings and topics. Because think about it, when you read something either on your laptop or on your phone, if you look at a block of text, you just zone out. And so use each block to just make sure that you are answering a question thoroughly. And if you've answered the question thoroughly, you've done a good job. And is that true for us? Maybe 10 pages. Don't answer it in 10 pages. Answer it in like 3 to 4 sentences.
And just have multiple blocks throughout the post. That same rule apply for just your standard website pages in addition to blog posts specifically? So your specialty pages, things like that?
You want short sentences, and paragraphs shouldn't be any longer than 3 to 4 sentences. So as long as you've given a thorough answer, not a dissertation, but just a thorough enough answer, you've done a good job.
Awesome. That's wonderful to know. The next one, if I do SEO wrong, will I have a negative effect on my website, and for how long? What are some of those things that might damage it?
So doing SEO wrong that's an interesting way to phrase it. So if you've done it wrong, ultimately what will happen is you just won't rank. That's one of the things that will happen.
You're not hurting yourself.
You're not really hurting yourself. The way that you will hurt yourself is by doing something that Google penalizes you for. So Google controls 70% of search. If we think about it like just the whole entire internet, 70% of internet searches are conducted on Google, and it's only growing. So if Google penalizes your site, you're in trouble. And Google has a whole list of things on their site for why you might be penalized. Buying backlinks is one of them. Another one is actually over-optimizing your site. So doing too much SEO. So
keyword
stuffing. The most common one is actually keyword stuffing, where every other word is your keyword, and you're not actually answering the question. So doing things like that will hurt you. And or another one right now is having an insecure site. So not secure site rather, and then one that loads very slowly. And so all of those things are things that will get you penalized, which means Google will pull down your ranking.
So yeah, Linda, you mentioned I find myself waiting to make my site because I fear screwing up SEO. Hopefully that answer eases your fears a little bit. You can get something up there and optimize as you go. It's not something that if you get it wrong, at the outset that it can't be remedied. Something you can always be improving on and investing in.
Please do not wait to get your site up, because I get asked that question as well. Do not wait to build the perfect website. Get your website out there, because as long as your website, your URL, and your name are out there, you can rank for just your name and just your URL.
Which is still something.
Which is still huge. Exactly. Because remember, Google still prioritizes showing people results that are local. And so if you've got your name and your address and what you do, just that is enough to give Google enough information to show someone your site if it's relevant to their search.
That really speaks to this next question. Do you suggest having your brand and website all set up before investing in SEO for your website? It seems like it would be challenging to go back and make changes to your website after SEO is set up. I find, the work that you do with therapists, you're often working with a lot of existing sites and things like that. So what would you say to that? I
would say set up your site. You can always go back as long as your site is not penalized. Because if it is penalized, there's a long process for that, and that's a whole other thing. But yes, to go in and fix SEO and optimize it, that's actually most of what I do.
Yeah, definitely. Who asked that? It looks like there was, I'm not sure who asked that. I can't see the name, but, you mentioned, Ronit, you took my Fill Your Practice formula and rewrote some of your copy and then continued to optimize for SEO. So it's possible to make tweaks and optimizations to other parts of your website and for SEO is like, this can be an ongoing process, not something that's one and done.
It actually should be ongoing. And every time, so when I encountered the Fill Your Practice formula, or I'm reading about best practices for SEO, you'll come across information, or you'll say something to a patient in a way that summarizes one of the things that you do perfectly. You've never said it that way before. You should be changing your copy. And that will help keep it fresh. And that will help Google see that your site is still active and relevant. So it ties back to what we were saying, which is just by doing your job well, you're going to help your SEO and your website.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's great advice. Someone asked that you repeat about the headers and the setup for blogs. Will you just kind of go through that again, how you suggest to structure a blog with headers?
Sure. So your main title, which if you are using WordPress is your H1 title, is what your blog post is about, the umbrella topic. Under that, you will have subheadings. In your main title and in your subheadings, you should have your key phrase and or synonyms, because Google is getting very, very good at language. So it now really also understands synonyms of your keyword, which is very helpful because you don't have to use the same exact words over and over again.
And what would be an example of a keyword? We haven't really talked much about that in this interview, but just give a quick overview of a keyword for a blog post.
So a keyword for a blog post could be how to treat OCD.
Okay.
So a keyword doesn't have to be one word. A keyword can be a word, or it can actually be as long as 3 to 4 words, and that's called a key phrase. And what you're trying to do is write blog posts that answer questions and inquiries and phrases that people are typing into Google. And so you'd have that in your main heading, and then each subheading would answer a different question that people might have about that topic. And as long as you follow that for a blog post, you'll have done a very good job.
Definitely. Yeah. Cool. One last question. Sarah asked, can you say more about having a secure site, please? So Sarah, you may have joined a bit late, and that's totally fine. Our first point was about having a secure site, but Ronit, do you just mind again sort of summarizing why that's so important and what it takes to secure a site?
Sure. So having a secure site means that you are showing Google and your visitors that you are taking all of the steps that you possibly can to protect their information from hackers. And the way you do that is, at the very least, by having what's called an SSL certificate. And that is, it's a bunch of data basically that just protects the communication between their computer and your website. The way you buy one of these SSL certificates is through the company that sold you your domain name, the company that's hosting your website, if you have your own WordPress website, the company that you build your website on. So for example, Wix or WordPress, Squarespace rather. Or sometimes if a company designed your website for you, their package might include a security certificate. So regardless of where you bought your domain name or hosting your website, just make sure that you have an SSL certificate, and you will know if your site is secure. If you look in the upper left-hand corner in the search bar, you will see a padlock. If your site is secure, it will be closed, or you will see the word secure. If your site is not secure, you will see a red open padlock or the words not secure before the URL. And people leave those sites. So your conversion rate will be low if your site isn't secure.
Because people won't trust it. So the good news there is that you don't have to be a tech expert to get this. No matter how you build your website virtually, your website, you should have one. If you can't get one where your website is built, that's probably an indication you may need to consider changing where it is.
If somebody's saying they cannot give you a security certificate, and I've actually just run into this with a client, then I would suggest transferring where you host your website.
Yep, that's usually an indication. Okay, we have one more question. So yes, the free resource that lists keywords being searched, that's Ubersuggest, UBERsuggest.com. Last question, and then if you have more, feel free to drop them in the comments. Ronit and I will keep an eye on them, and we can always talk via keyboard. But does linking to relevant news articles on our website improve SEO, or does it need to be new content? That's a good question.
Yes, that's a very good question, because that ties into authority. Google wants to see that you're not making stuff up. So the way we would use citations in an academic paper or in an article, Google wants to see that you're doing the same thing. So by linking to outside articles, even if they're older, that's fine. What that shows Google is, look, I just inserted a reference.
Right.
And so that's very, very helpful.
Definitely. One thing to note there, though, is that you don't want, sometimes on websites I will visit, they'll have an entire resources page that is linking off to other websites, and it's not content they've written themselves. It's just a list of links. We don't want that. That's sending people away from you. It's not in the context of content you're writing. So make sure that if you are linking, you're doing it in the context of a blog post or you expressing your authority in some way.
100%. Absolutely.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. So great questions. Again, if you have more, feel free to drop them in. I will keep an eye on things, make sure they're answered. But Ronit, this has been awesome. So the 4 non-tech ways to boost SEO. Number 1, build trust with a security certificate, build authority and trust, build expertise via things like backlinking, and then build that social presence. Find a way for people, create that engine where people are coming back to your website over time. This has been so wonderful. Ronit, I know that you're an expert. You're doing a lot for therapists. So where can we learn more about you online and keep honing our SEO skills?
Absolutely. So on Facebook, it's Simple SEO Systems. And then on my website, I've actually you can sign up and get a video that I've created that will show you 3 free and really easy ways to find topics that your audience is already looking for and Google wants to show them. Perfect. And you can find that on simpleseosystems.com.
Awesome. I will drop that in the comments after this to make sure you can just click on over. But that video is a great resource. If you're watching this and you're being inspired to blog, or maybe you've been blogging and you want to improve it, that will be a great resource, totally free. So thank you for that, Ronit. Thank you, friends, for being here. This has been so wonderful. Ronit, we're going to have you back, whether you like it or not. I think we need you.
I will come back whenever.
Wonderful. This has been so great. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend, Ronit. Thanks again for joining us. And friends, we'll talk to you soon.
Take care, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.